If you want to get into long-range shooting, one of the first things you're going to want to do is make sure your gun is balanced. And by balanced, I mean you can see as I set my gun here in this barricade, I don't need to touch it at all. It'll sit perfectly still. This is going to allow me to get behind it and make a clean shot. So what makes a balanced gun is making sure we obviously have enough weight in the front end to pull us forward. That's why you'll see a lot of long range and PRS setups have very big barrels or very long barrels. It's going to give us velocity obviously as well, but that's going to help push some of that balance forward. If anything, personally, I'd rather have my gun a little bit forward heavy than rear heavy. That's going to allow me not to have to put any pressure on that rear just to get behind it and make that clean shot. You'll see on my rifle here, I had to add MDT weights. I have 4 MDT weights adding up to about 2 or just north of 2 pounds. That's allowing my center point to move forward in my rifle a little bit. Again, allowing that balance to be there for me to make a clean shot. So if you're gonna get into long range, one thing you're gonna have to get familiar with is some sort of ballistic app, Kestrel, or Vortex ACE. So when you're doing precision rifle shooting, before each stage, you're generally gonna have to grab the wind and your distance of targets, input it into your Vortex ACE here, or Kestrel, or ballistic app. That's gonna give you feedback on how to turn your turret and what to turn your turret to. We're gonna end up running this turret at every stage, generally up and down 5 to 10 times, depending on what the target lineup looks like. So the big takeaway on that is get very familiar with your ballistic solver because you're gonna be using it a lot. Another tip in long range shooting is remember impacts are greater than speed. Lots of times people like to rush through shooting, trying to get as many rounds off as fast as they can. Generally that ultimately results in poor shooting or missed targets. I personally would rather slow down and time out of a stage, not getting every shot broke, but hitting every target that I've aimed at. So just remember, slow down, make those impacts. Another tip for long range shooting is to practice in the wind. No matter where you're at, it's probably either windy or going to be windy at some point. So if you're going to shoot long range, either PRS or just straight up long range shooting, you're going to want to practice in that wind and see what your bullet and gun does when shooting in the wind, because every bullet does react different. So learn what it does, that way you can make more impacts at the range. Another thing that's easily overlooked is keeping your gun level while shooting. It's very easy to slightly cant your gun left or right, which ultimately, if you're shooting at an extended distance, will make your point of impact move left or right. There's a lot of solutions for this. You'll see on my gun here, I have the MDT Send It level Gen 2. As I rotate it back and forth, you will see those lights turn from red to blue to green. This is helping me basically double check that I'm level before I break that shot. So having some sort of Kestrel, Vortex ACE, or ballistic app is crucial to long range shooting, but it doesn't replace having a dope card on the side of your gun. So if you're shooting PRS or any somewhat fast-paced shooting, you're gonna need to have either every target sequence, elevation, and wind call memorized, which I don't think anyone probably can, or having some sort of dope card on the side of your gun where you can write down what your elevation holds are and what your wind holds are. Me personally, I either run this card that came with the Coltac cheat sheet, or I did make my own dope card as well. You'll see on mine what I have is the target sequence in case they throw a crazy sequence at us. I have my drop, that's going to be what my elevations are going to be for each target. I do have wind 1, 2, 3, and 4. I generally don't use all those. That'll allow me to put the minimum wind velocity, the average wind velocity, and the maximum wind velocity. So if I need to make a correction on the fly, I can just move left or right to the column that's needed. When shooting long range, sometimes it's difficult to find the targets, especially if you're shooting any kind of NRL or PRS. When you have multiple targets that you have to acquire, it sometimes can be difficult transitioning from one target to the other. So one tip I find that's pretty helpful is when you get behind the gun, instead of getting right down in your scope and trying to find that target, if you follow the top of your turret, align your top of your turret with the actual target, it's going to allow you to get behind the gun, and only movements you should have to make is up and down at that point. You shouldn't have to go left and right. So if you can't see the target as you move down, either move down or up slightly and that target should present itself. If you're wanting to get into the PRS game, an easily overlooked piece of gear that it's essentially required would be a bigger mag. So generally a lot of guns will come with a 5-round mag. Well, most stages we shoot are going to be 8 or 10 rounds. So I would say it's crucial to have either a 10 round or myself, I grab a 12-round mag. I like the 12 rounds because this is going to give me 2 extra rounds in case I have a malfunction. I can unload that malfunction cartridge while still having a backup shell in my mag to be able to continue on that stage.